This is Pokemon Infinite Fusion, the fan game with over 175,000 different Pokemon combinations. And we're here today to see if we can beat a hardcore randomized Nuzlocke using, well, whatever we get. That means if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead. The level cap is the next leader's ace. No active items can be used in battle, and we're going to be playing on set mode. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Over 50,000 of you check out my videos every month, and I really appreciate it, but less than 15% of you are subbed to the channel. The only way that I'm going to be able to grow as a creator is with all your support, so anything that y'all can give me, I really appreciate it. But anyways, let's dive in. Starting things off in Professor Oak's lab, it's time for us to go ahead and see what our starters are. Starting things off, we get ourselves a Genbuff, a Voltra, and a Venalax. Deciding to go with the amazing Genbuff. Over on Route 1, we find ourselves a Sangon. Over in Viridian, we go ahead and get ourselves a Togalosion, and this thing is hilarious, I'm not gonna lie. Over on Route 2, we find ourselves a Chingy. In Viridian, we find ourselves a Cacmander. And on 22, we find a Hootspars. Before facing off against Rando over on Route 22, we go ahead and get our Cacmander up to level 10, evolving it into Beemander. We run into Rando over on Route 22, practicing his victory speech for when he becomes the Elite Four champion. He challenges us to a follow-up battle, saying he's warmed up this time and ready to rock and roll, sending in Belknot. Starting off with Beemander, we go ahead and go for a Tweedle, and with the ×4 effectiveness, we take it out in one shot. With Venalax coming in next, we go ahead and go for an Ember, doing huge damage with a crit as he goes ahead and goes for Foresight. Following up with another Ember, we're able to take Venalax down, and with that, we embarrass Rando yet again. And now it's time for face-off against Brock and his regular, everyday, normal Pokemon, as he starts off things with an Arcan. Knowing this thing's gonna have a hard time hitting us, we go ahead and go for a Hypnosis on the first turn, putting it to sleep. Now that it's asleep, we go ahead and start pounding things out as he hits us for huge damage with an Astonish. Swapping in the Togalosion, he's gonna go ahead and use Astonish again with a lot less effectiveness this time. Going for an Eruption, we can go ahead and take the Arcan out in just one shot. Sending in his adorable Ace Mavi, we go ahead and go for an Eruption yet again, doing massive damage, getting him just below half as he hits us with a Sand Attack. Going for another Eruption, we're able to finish things off, earning our Boulder Badge. Over on Route 3, we find a Double Fuse Slugma. Outside of Mount Moon, we find Nurse Joy tending to this wounded Geodude. Brock rushes on over, saying he has just the thing to fix him up, and goes ahead and whips out a nail file and files the Geodude down to a smooth surface, making him more normal. Nurse Joy's completely offended by this entire thing and goes ahead and runs off, never to be seen again. In Mount Moon, we find ourselves a Shitter. While fighting our way through Mount Moon, we're gonna have a couple evolutions on our team. First up, Beemander goes ahead and evolves into Bemelian. Next up, Togalosion goes ahead and evolves as well, but that little egg face hatching into the silly little Togalosion. Next up is Genbuff go ahead and evolves into the monstrous Genpuff. And finally, our Chingy goes ahead and glows up as well, turning into Chingiodo. Finally, our Genpuff evolves one more time once we go outside and grab ourselves a Moonstone, reaching his final excellent Gentuff. Once we travel through Mount Moon, we find the Team Rocket's actually been working on a triple fusion, which is kind of cool, but also probably evil, considering that it's, well, Team Rocket. After interrupting their party, their fusion technique ultimately fails, and the machine explodes. And Team Rocket blasts off without cleaning up any of their stuff. And that's just rude. Over on Route 4, we find ourselves a Shroomdoo. We find Rando over on Nugget Bridge wearing a t-shirt that says, "I beat Nugget Bridge and all I got was this t-shirt about chicken nuggies." We find Rando over by Nugget Bridge eating a box of chicken nuggets wearing a t-shirt that says, "I defeated Nugget Bridge and all I got were these chicken nuggets," challenging us to a follow-up battle to see if this time he has what it takes, slamming in Gooble. Gentuff goes ahead for a Shadow Punch, doing about 50% damage as a Stun Spore paralyzes us. Going for a Lick, it does quite a bit of damage to us as we go ahead and follow with another Shadow Punch, getting it down into the red. Rando goes ahead and heals up with a Super Potion, and we're going to go ahead and go for a Draining Kiss, doing just about 50%, healing ourselves back up to full. Going again for another Lick, he gets a crit this time, getting us down to about half, and we go ahead and bring him way down into the red. Going for another Stun Spore, for some reason, this gives us the opportunity to take it down with another Smoochie Kiss. Sending in Driftwick as his next Pokemon, we can go ahead and go for a Shadow Punch as Driftwick goes ahead and goes for a Gust, doing minimal damage to us as we snap out of our confusion, going for a Shadow Punch, taking it down in one shot. Woova comes in next, and we're going to try to do the same thing here as a Rock Slide comes in doing minimal damage to us, but unfortunately we are paralyzed. Not really having a good alternative for the Rock Slide, we go ahead and stay in, going for a Draining Kits, and taking it down in one. Out last comes his Venolax, which is now fully evolved and absolutely horrifying. Venolax goes for a Lick, doing some pretty good damage to us as we go ahead and go for a Smoochie Kiss, doing about 30%. Venolax tries to go for a Poison Powder, but lucky for us, we're already poisoned as another Kiss comes in doing some good damage. Another Lick goes ahead and does some good damage to us, but with one more Kiss, we go ahead and seal Rando's fate. And we take a couple Chicken Nuggies for the road. Over on 24, we find ourselves an Abduo. Next, we head over to Bill's lab, where he's performing an experiment to see if he can fuse himself with a Pokemon. Fortunately for him, the experiment is a huge success. But after talking to him, he realizes he'll never be able to hug his family anymore without the crushing power of a Rhydon. So he asks us to help him reverse the fusion so we can keep some rocky parts in some places, but smooth, slender parts in others. After helping him out, he thinks that we're such great guys. He gives us the boat ticket. We're facing off against Misty. Our Hootsparks goes ahead and evolves into his final glorious Noxbars. And now it's time for us to face off against Misty and her fighting Pokemon, which is interesting as she goes ahead and sends out my dude, and we send in Gentuff. Starting things off with the Draining Kiss, we can go ahead and smooch him down for free, getting the KO. She sends in her Ace Carbuskin, and I love this little guy. I used him in another one of my videos before, but with just one Draining Kiss, oh, just kidding, don't quite have enough to do it. Following up with one more Smoochie Kiss, we can go ahead and get the KO, earning our Cascade badge. Over on Route 5, we find ourselves a Q-Chew. Over on Route 6, we find ourselves a Galoon. Fishing in Vermilion City, we find ourselves an E2. In Diglett's Cave, we go ahead and find ourselves a Hanub. And over on Route 11, we find ourselves a Curorb. Over on the SSN, we run into Rando, who's eating an entire platter of bacon-wrapped scallops. He's still wearing that chicken nugget shirt, too. Anyways, rematch time. Starting things off, he goes in and sends in a Blast Buff, and we send in Bamillion. Swapping into our Chinodo, Rando goes ahead and goes for a Bite. Going for an Electro Ball, and our first attack, we can go ahead and do some pretty okay damage to it, but I was expecting a bit more as another Bite comes in, doing minimal damage to us. Going for a Thunder Wave on the follow-up attack to go ahead and lower his speed some more. We go ahead and he uses Copycat, but fortunately for us, we have Volt Absorb. Going for another Electro Ball. This time we do a hell of a lot more damage, getting him way down into the red, as a Bite does just a bit to us. Rando goes ahead and heals up with a Super Potion, and Electro Ball comes in and is more than enough to take it down. Out next comes Beat 'em. Not sure the typing on this thing, we go ahead and go for a Thunder Wave, as he goes ahead and he's paralyzed. Following up with an Electro Ball, we go ahead and do some pretty decent damage to him as he goes ahead and hits us with a Rollout. While that first attack did a good amount of damage to us, another Electro Ball is all we need to take it down. Out next comes Hero Rogue, and this thing is honestly really cool. Hero goes for a Feint, doing basically nothing as we go ahead and go for a Gust for a quad effective critical hit, Death. Venolax comes in last, and this thing is gigantic. Oh my gosh. Going for a Thunder Wave, we go ahead and paralyze it, bringing his stuff down. Just goes ahead and goes for a Chip Away, bringing us way down into the red. Taking Chinodo back and going ahead and swapping into Gentuff. Venolax goes ahead and goes for a Psybeam, doing us some decent damage. Going for a Draining Kiss, we do about 30% as we go ahead and heal ourselves back up, and he goes for another Psybeam. Doing the same thing again, we get him to just under 50% as we heal back up once again, and he goes for another Psybeam. We're just gonna keep on rinsing and repeating this thing, and now he's into the red, and he's just gonna keep on Psybeaming us. One more Smoochie Kiss takes care of that, and with that, we defeat Rando, and honestly, I'm gonna get me some of them scallops. Before leaving the SSN, we go ahead and grab ourselves a Claw Fossil so we can get it taken care of in Peter City later on. And now it's time for us to take on Lieutenant Surge and his Dark-type Pokemon as he starts things off with Demillion, and we send in Bemillion. Demillion goes for a Scary Face, lowering our speed as we go ahead and go for a Brick Break, getting him way down to the red on the first hit. Surge goes ahead and heals back up with a super potion as we go ahead and go for another Brick Break, this time bringing him down deeper into the red. Surge goes ahead and uses up his second potion as we go ahead and use Brick Break yet again. Going for a Dragon Breath, he does minimal damage to us, as a final Brick Break goes ahead and takes it down. His next Pokemon is Dira. Dira goes for a Headbutt, doing a little bit of damage to us as a Brick Break brings it down way into the red. Going for another Headbutt, he brings us down to our Berry, activating it, getting us back to about half health, and we go ahead and take it out with a Tweedle. His Ace Baiken comes out, and this thing is awesome. Baiken goes ahead and goes for a Flame Charge, which brings us way down to the red, and we go ahead and go for a Brick Break, bringing it just below half, activating his Berry. Taking Bemilion back, we go ahead and swap in the Togolosion. Baiken goes for a Quick Attack, doing decent damage. Baiken goes for a Scary Face, lowering our speed. A Draining Kiss is all we need to take it down, securing our Thunder Badge. Turning in our Helix Fossil over in Pewter City gets us this awesome Magonite. And our Claw Fossil goes ahead and gets us a Bulbra. Over on Route 10, we find ourselves a Pukulu. In Rock Tunnel, we find ourselves a Dulia. Our Honedge is randomized into a Yura. Before facing off against Rando in Pokemon Tower, our Chinodo goes ahead and evolves, turning into, well, this kind of silly Lenodo. And our Magonite also goes ahead and evolves into the monstrous, epic Garanite. We find Rando over in Pokemon Tower, still sporting that Chicken Nugget t-shirt and still sporting that platter of scallops. The last few weeks on the road haven't been good to it, as he sends in Jolt Quill. Our Garanite goes ahead and goes for an Aqua Tail, nailing this thing, taking it down in one shot. Out next comes this Aragon, which is really cool. Going for an Aqua Tail again on this guy, we bring him down in just one shot. His following Pokemon is Clefter, and this thing is absolutely adorable, but the power of Garanite's Aqua Tails are more than enough to take it out. Leading into his final Pokemon, Vanilluxe. Going for an Aqua Tail on Vanilluxe, we can go ahead and bring it down way into the red as a Signal Beam comes in, doing some okay damage to us. Rando goes ahead and uses the Super Potion to heal up, and we go ahead and connect with another Aqua Tail, bringing him down. After our battle, we hear somebody yelling at somebody on the other side of the room. After going to investigate it, we find that Team Rocket is harassing this old man. Before we have the opportunity to go ahead and step in and help out, they drag him upstairs. Rando lets us know he needs to freshen up on some supplies, and heads to the nearest grocery store to grab some more scallops and chicken nuggets, leaving us alone. On our way over to Celadon City, we find ourselves a Ditro, Starry, a Klefki, and this is the weirdest Klefki I've ever seen. An Oddchar at the game corner, and a Butterduck as our Eevee. Outside the sewers, we find Rando fighting off two Team Rocket grunts. He does a really good job, actually. But before we can go inside the sewers after them, he spills honey mustard all over his favorite shirt, so he's got to go get it dry cleaned. While fighting our way through Team Rocket's base, our Q-Chew goes ahead and evolves into Q-Chew. Next up, our Q-Chew then goes ahead and evolves into, honestly, this really awesome Marichu. After giving it Thunderstone, our Marichu then goes ahead and evolves into a Marichu. And finally, we go ahead and reverse the fusion into the much more awesome Rywak. Next up, our Yara goes ahead and evolves as well, turning into the awesome Yaroark. And finally, it evolves one more time from Yaroark into Copperark. After fighting to the end of Team Rocket's secret base, we find Giovanni, who seems to have taken Erica, the gym leader, hostage. He sneaks behind us, whispering something sensual into our ear that I am too embarrassed to even repeat. And the battle begins. He starts things off by sending in his Sib Vial, and we go ahead and send in Rywak. Going for a Nuzzle, we find out that this thing is actually a ground type, and he goes ahead and sets up Misty Terrain. Recalling Rywak and going ahead and sending in Garanite, he goes ahead and goes to try to set up another Misty Terrain, which obviously doesn't do anything. Following up with an Aqua Tail, we can go ahead and take him down in one shot. His next Pokemon out is a Nidoking? Not exactly sure of its typing. We go ahead and go for an Aqua Tail, and since it's neutral damage, we know that he's at least part ground. Missing our follow-up Aqua Tail, he goes ahead and goes for a Water Pulse, doing basically nothing to us, even on a crit. Going for another Aqua Tail, we go ahead and bring him way down into the red as his Zen Headbutt gets us below half, activating our Citrus Berry. Giovanni goes ahead and uses a Max Potion, so we go ahead and follow up with a Wing Attack, doing basically nothing. Following up with a Bite, we go ahead and get him down pretty deep into the yellow as he goes ahead and hits us with another Water Pulse. Following up with one more Bite, we're able to take down the Nidoking. Giovanni's final Pokemon is a Spirion, and this thing is actually kind of a cool-looking, weird spiderweb guy. Anyways, he goes for a Sucker Punch, and he gets down just below half as we go ahead and go for a Bite, doing some pretty okay damage. Afraid of a critical, we go ahead and recall Garanite and go ahead and send in Gentough instead, as he goes ahead and goes for a Sucker Punch, which doesn't do anything. Going for a Shadow Ball, we go ahead and bring it way down into the red as he misses a Hypnosis. He goes ahead and uses Sucker Punch on us, doing some pretty decent damage, but one more Shadow Ball from us is more than enough to take down the Spiritomb and Giovanni. After the battle, Giovanni accepts defeat and blasts off again. Now it's time for us to go ahead and take on Erica and her normal Pokemon, but there ain't nothing average about you, baby, as she sends out a Joltursa. Starting off with Bemillion, we go ahead and go for a Brick Break, getting it just below half, as a Slash does about 50% to us. Erica goes for a Hyper Potion, and we go ahead and go for another Brick Break, managing to do about the same amount of damage. Going for a third Brick Break, we're able to take the bear down. Her next Pokemon is Dullagator. A little intimidated by its typing, we go ahead and recall Bemillion, and we send in Garanite. He goes for a Crunch, doing some okay damage to us, and on the following turn, we go for a Bite, as he misses the takedown. Following up with a Wing Attack, we do about the same amount of damage as a Crunch comes in, getting us going for another Bite. We go ahead and get him just below half, but he goes ahead and uses a Citrus Berry, healing back up. Going for another Crunch, he goes ahead and gets us just below half as it activates our own Citrus Berry. Going for another Bite, we get him down just below half as a takedown takes us below half as well. Going for another Bite, now he's way down into the red as a Coil goes ahead and raises the stats up a bit. And we can follow up with one final Bite, taking it down. Her final Pokemon, Poriseal, comes in, and he goes ahead and uses Screech on us, lowering our defense massively as we go ahead and go for a Wing Attack. Knowing we're in kind of a weird spot, we go ahead and recall Garanite and send in our Gentough. A Signal Beam comes in and does barely anything to us. Not sure if this thing is Ice or Dark. So he goes ahead and uses Screech on us as we use Draining Kiss, not sure if he's Ice or Dark, and it turns out that he's Ice. Going for a Beat Up, he does some pretty okay damage to us considering he's the only one left alive, but we finish him off with a Smoochie Kiss, and we earned our Rainbow Badge. Over in Pokemon Tower, we find ourselves a Cough Cool. Getting to the top of Pokemon Tower, we run into Mr. Fuji, who it turns out is actually the original creator of the Master Ball. Team Rocket kidnapped him because they were looking for the master plans for the Master Ball, and they've taken over Silph Co. It looks like somebody should probably do something about it, but we have badges to collect. Over on Route 12, we go ahead and play our flute for what appears to be a Snorlax, but once it jumps up and attacks us, it's actually a Megarark. On our way down and around in Fuchsia City, we run into a Sheddon, Led Jr., Squirtron, a Duomer, Miarik, Poritor, and a Hapvi. Before taking on Koga, our Bemillion goes ahead and evolves into his final form, Bizard. Now it's time for us to take on Koga and his Dragon-type Pokemon as he goes ahead and starts things off with a Fast Bars. Starting things right off with a Smoochie Kiss, we go ahead and take it down with a critical hit. His next Pokemon out is Gargar, which is an excellent name, by the way. Gargar goes ahead and uses Shadow Ball on us, doing massive damage and one-shotting our starter. Swapping into our Corphirock, he'll never see us coming as he goes ahead and goes for a Shadow Ball, doing just above 50%, activating our heal. Going for a Night Slash as a follow-up, we go ahead and take it down in just one shot. Vengeance is ours. His next Pokemon out is Corda. Following up with another Night Slash, we go ahead and do not nearly as much damage as he goes ahead and uses a Brine, getting it just below 50%. We're now in a really bad spot with that Brine as we go for another Night Slash, knowing he's going to do a hell of a lot more damage to us, KOing us on the following turn. Not really knowing what to do here, we go ahead and swap into Bizard. Knowing I really don't have a good move here, we go ahead and go for a Poison Jab, getting it way down into the red and getting the poison off as he goes in and uses a Rock Blast, getting a super low, activating our Berry. And just barely avoiding death as the poison takes it down. His final Pokemon is a Pidgeot, and we go ahead and we take Bizarre out and go ahead and swap into our Togalosian. After failing to hit us with a Dragon Claw, he goes ahead and uses Taunt on us, and we can go ahead and use a Draining Kiss, taking it way down into the red on the first shot. Cookin goes ahead and heals up with a Hyper Potion as we go ahead and use another Draining Kiss, bringing it down into the red again. And one more seals its fate, and with that, we've secured our Soul Badge. But at what cost? Needing to change up our party a bit, we go ahead and add in our Hatvi, using an Oval Stone to evolve it into a Chanvi. After that, we go ahead and give Chanvi a Sunstone, evolving it into the absolutely adorable Champion. And then finally, Champion goes ahead and evolves one more time into Blispion. And trust me when I say this, everybody, this thing's a monster. Next, we go ahead and evolve our Starry into the very silly-looking Starunny. And then after giving it a Water Stone, Starunny's gonna go ahead and evolve one more time. Dark Magician Girl! Lapras has been randomized into a Luca Menace. We catch up with Rando over in Silph Co, where he's now completely covered in barbecue sauce. My guy, I know you want a lifetime supply of chicken nuggets, but this is getting ridiculous. He starts things off with a Cloytrus, and we go and send in our Rywhack. Not sure if this thing is steel or not, we go ahead and start things off with a Stomping Tantrum, doing some pretty good damage, getting him just below half as he sets up a layer of spikes. Going for another Stomping Tantrum, we can go ahead and take it down. Out next comes Blastler, and I love this thing. Not sure if we outspeed or not, we go ahead and try to go for a Spark, but a Protect blocks it. Going for a Water Pulse on the next turn, he gets us just below half, activating our Citrus Berry. Going for a Spark, we can then get him also a little bit below half. Not sure how this is going to go, we go ahead and swap Rywhack out and go ahead and send in our Garanite. After he goes for a Water Pulse, doing basically nothing, he goes ahead and misses an Aqua Tail on the following turn, and we can go ahead and use a Crunch, finishing it off. Out next is his Pokemon Ducius. Not 100% sure what I'm supposed to do up against God. Ducius goes ahead and uses Shadow Ball, getting us to just about half as we go ahead and go for a Crunch, doing some pretty massive damage to it. It goes for a Curse on the next turn, and it takes itself out? I mean, I guess if Arceus is the god of creation, Ducius is the god of destruction, and he self-destructed. So, cool beans. Sending out Ningar as his next Pokemon, we're going to go ahead and swap over into Togalosian. Going for an X-Scissor, he goes ahead doing basically nothing to us. Following up with an Eruption, we go ahead and do pretty massive damage to him, taking him down in just one shot. His Ace Venalax comes in, and we're going to go ahead and go for another Eruption, taking it down to about a third on the first hit. After using Block for basically no reason, we go ahead and use Eruption again, taking down the Venalax and defeating Rando once again. We find Giovanni in the president's office. He's not happy with Master Ball production. Giovanni notices the distinct aroma of a specific barbecue sauce, one from Viridian City, his hometown, and he wants a bottle of it, and he's gonna take it by any means necessary. Sending out a Kieri and a double fused Chansey, we have Rywalk and Cloystrus. The Giraffe goes ahead and uses the Dizzy Punch on me as an Egg Bomb also comes in, getting me to about half. A Spark goes ahead and gets the Chansey down to about half as Cloystrus goes ahead and sends out the Spikes. Going for another Dizzy Punch on me, now I'm down to about a quarter, but this is also going to activate my Berry, healing me back up to just about half. Chansey's going to go ahead and go for another Egg Bomb on me, doing basically nothing, as another Spark goes ahead and takes it way down into the red. Giovanni goes ahead and heals up the Chansey, so I'm going to take this opportunity to go for a Stomping Tantrum on the Giraffe, bringing it down just a little bit below half as Payback goes ahead and does some decent damage to Chansey. Another Egg Bomb comes in to get me down into the red, as another Stomping Tantrum should be enough to go ahead and take down the Giraffe. A Payback goes ahead and takes Chansey way down into the red as well, as Manator comes out now. Swapping Rywhack out, we're going to go ahead and send in Giranite instead, cutting both of their attacks with Intimidate. Mantor goes ahead and uses Leaf Storm on Garanite, bringing me down about 40% and lowering his special attack significantly as an Egg Bomb goes ahead and gets me to just about half. Finally, a third payback goes ahead and takes down the Chansey. Giovanni sends out Octomime. Octomime goes for a Bullet Seed on Garanite, activating my berry, healing me back up as he continues to go ahead with this little onslaught of little berries for 2 whole hits as a Crunch goes ahead, getting a crit, taking out Mantor. Oh my god, now that I can see that it's just Octodad, that is hilarious as a payback goes ahead and gets down about a third. Octomime goes for Roleplay again, changing his skill link into Intimidate, which is incredibly unfortunate as it goes ahead and lowers my attack. Going for an Aqua Tail, it's obviously not enough to do much of anything. Octomime goes for another Bullet Seed, this time hitting us 3 times as a Wing Attack does basically nothing, and a payback gets it down into the red. Dang in, because why the hell not, another Bullet Seed comes in and starts doing some more chip damage to us, only hitting us twice as we get him way down into the red, and a final payback is enough to take down Giovanni for one of the most interesting but easiest battles I've had against him in a while. Now with that, we've once again taken care of Team Rocket, and this time when Giovanni blasts off, it's gonna be for the final time. Until next time, for saving everybody in Silph Co, we get another dupe. And now it's time for us to go ahead and take on Sabrina and her Dragon-type Pokemon. Starting things off with a Latoon, we go ahead and set in Togologian. A Draining Kiss does some decent damage as Latium goes ahead and sets up an Amnesia. This time going for an Ancient Power, we go ahead and do basically nothing to it despite it being super effective, as a Zen Headbutt does about 20% to us. Going for another Draining Kiss, we go ahead and do some more chip damage as we heal ourselves back up at the Smoochie Kiss, as another Zen Headbutt comes in doing some more. Going for yet another Smoochie Kiss, we get it way down into the red, and a Zen Headbutt does the same thing it's been doing. Sabrina goes ahead and heals up, so I go ahead and use Wish. Going for another Draining Kiss, this time we manage to get a crit, doing about 50% as a Zen Headbutt comes in doing a bit to us, as our Wish heals us back up to full. Another Draining Kiss does about 20%, and he's going to go ahead and just keep on using Zen. A little concerned that I'm almost out of. Kisses, we switch over to Ancient Power, hoping for an Omni Boost that never comes. Going for another Omni Boost, we go ahead and do about 20%, and I would really, really like it. Withdrawing Latium, she goes ahead and sends in Dust Knight instead, and this thing is absolutely fierce as we go ahead and set up another Wish. Going for a Draining Kiss, we go ahead and do about 30% as we heal most of our damage back up, as he goes ahead and uses Hex on us. Healing back up from our Wish, we go ahead and go for another Draining Kiss, bringing him down to about 20% as he goes ahead and uses a Curse, which is gonna off himself. Thanks. Sabrina sends in our next Pokemon, Garrel, and I realize I never got to the level cap before starting the fight. Withdrawing Togologian, we go ahead and swap into Blisspeon, as Garrel goes ahead and uses Double Edge, doing some pretty huge damage to us. At this point, we're going to start at the trees, going for a Minimize as he tries to use Dragon Claw on us. Going for another Minimize, we go ahead and raise our evasion another 2 stages as he goes ahead and uses Dig. Taking this free opportunity to go ahead and finish maxing out our evasion, he goes ahead using Dig, obviously missing. Going for a Psychic on the following turn, we do some pretty decent damage, but it's not quite enough as another Double Edge comes in, slamming us down to 77 HP. Healing up a Soft Boil, he goes ahead and tries to use Dragon Claw again. For going for another Psychic, we manage to take him down way into the red and follow up with another turn with the KO. Sabrina sends out her Ace Shell Menace. He goes for a Zen Headbutt missing, and we go ahead and set up the Future Sight. Managing to connect with the Zen Headbutt, he gets the flinch off. After missing the following attack, a combination of our Psychic and Future Sight take him way down into the red. And one more is enough to take it down. Setting in Latium, we go ahead and go for Psychic, taking it down to about 40%. Following up with another Psychic, we get it way down into the red as he sets up Amnesia. And with one more, Marsh Badge, baby. Going back and looking at the footage, I never actually used that Bagon fusion, so Luca Menace, welcome to the party. Before facing off against Blaine, we go ahead and add Hotnub to our party, evolving it all the way into the excellent Age of Swine. Up we grab a Shiny Stone so we can evolve our Togologian all the way into its final form, finally, into Togologian. And with our team set up, it's now time for us to take on Blaine and his ghost Pokemon. He starts things off with Chandertech, and we go ahead and send in Starunny. Going for a Psychic, we do some decent damage as he goes ahead and goes for an Ancient Power. Following up next with a Thunderbolt, we go ahead and get the KO as Probotoons his next Pokemon, and this thing is honestly awesome. We go ahead and go for a Surf, doing some pretty decent damage to him, but a Pashu Berry keeps it alive. Going for another Surf, now that it doesn't have the berry protecting it, it's more than enough for the KO. Out next comes Honking, and this thing is a little creepy, if I'm being completely honest. Honking goes ahead, hits us with a Dark Pulse, which we managed to tank like a boss, but we do get flinched. Lucky for us, it is true, and our Surf does about 60%. Blaine then goes ahead using a Full Restore, which gives us the opportunity to use Surf yet again for free, doing a little bit more than half. Honking goes for another Dark Pulse, getting us down pretty low, and also getting the flinch again. Knowing he can't do anything about it though, we stay in, going for Surf, grabbing ourselves the KO. His final Pokemon, Snorgar, comes in, so we go ahead and send in Blisspeon. Going for a Belly Drum, he maxes out attack, bringing himself down to about half. Following up with a Dark Pulse, oh god, we go ahead and tank it like a boss, even though it's a crit. And a Psychic brings him way down into the red. Going for block, we go ahead and finish it off with a Psychic, and with that, we've earned our Volcano badge. Knowing I'm going to need Discharge for Zapmokuno, we go ahead and add Poritor to the party, evolving it into Poritor. In Mount Ember, it turns out that Giovanni has not only captured all 3 legendary birds, they've also perfected their triple fusion technique, turning it into Zapmokuno, the most legendary bird that's ever been legendary. And with this big special bird, they plan on taking over the world. No one will be able to stop Team Rocket and all their nefarious schemes. But wait, there's a child here. Will this child be able to stop Giovanni? I don't know. We're going to find out right now. Giovanni goes ahead and sends in Zapmokuno, and then I realize I didn't rearrange my team, sending in Aegiswine. In a little bit of a panic, we go for an Iron Head on Articuno, doing some massive damage as they go ahead and buff themselves up. Continuing to buff themselves up, we can go ahead and use Iron Head again, taking down Articuno as a Flamethrower comes in, absolutely decimating us. Knowing I probably can't take another round, we go ahead and swap Aegiswine out and send in Poritor, which is the entire reason we were here in the first place. Going for an Ancient Power, Zapdos manages to get the Omni Boost, which is super awesome, and I love that, and I get burned by Flamethrower. Zapdos going for another Ancient Power, gets me down into the red as I managed to use Discharge, doing not nearly enough damage, and ultimately going down to an Air Slash. Popping in the Blisspeon, I managed to tank an Ancient Power pretty well, but now he just got his second Omni Boost as I go ahead and set up a Minimize. Getting hit with a Flamethrower, I also get burnt here as well as Reflect wears off. Getting hit with another Ancient Power, I go ahead and Minimize again, and why can't I dodge anything? Okay, apparently I'm not allowed to do anything here, and we're going to go ahead and just keep on getting hit by Ancient Powers, even though I'm at +4 evasion. Going for my third Minimize apparently isn't enough, as now I'm in the red. Zapdos continues to charge, thankfully as a Soft Boil can bring me back up, and finally, they miss an attack. Going for an Agility, I can go ahead and use Soft Boil again, as I get hit by this Air Slash. Zapdos continues just using Charge, and now we're going to go for Psychics on Moltres. With another Psychic, we can manage to take it down, as Zapdos just continues to buff itself up over and over again. We go back and forth with Blisspeon for a really long time, burning through all my PP, but this thing's special defense is absolutely wild. Knowing it's going to go for a Discharge, we go ahead and send an Aegiswine as he continues to just max out his special defense with Charge. Going for a Night Slash, we bring it way down into the red, and it struggles itself to death. And with that, we defeat Zapmokuno. After the battle, the birds defuse and scatter back to where they came from, and Giovanni leaves, defeated, running home to his mommy. Now it's time for us to take on Giovanni and his Poison-type Pokemon. He starts things off with Nidotina, and we send an Aegiswine. Going for a Swords Dance, we're hit for pretty decent damage with a Crunch. Nidotina goes for a Shadow Force on the next turn, so we go ahead and set up a second Swords Dance. Slapping us with a Shadow Force, getting us to just about half, we go ahead and hit it with a Night Slash, getting it way down into the red. Knowing Giovanni's going to heal up, we take this opportunity to go ahead and use yet another Night Slash. Giovanni goes ahead and uses a second full restore as another Night Slash brings it down. Once again, Giovanni heals up, so we can take this opportunity to slash with the Night. And finally, it goes ahead hitting us with a Hex, getting us just below half to activate our Berry. And with that, Nidotina goes down. Out next comes his Don King. Afraid this thing has a ground move, we're going to go ahead and take Aegiswine out and go ahead and send in our Sturunny. And of course it goes for an Earthquake, slamming us just below half, activating our Berry. Going for a stab super effective Surf, we go ahead and take Don King down in 1. His next Pokemon is Mazing, and that thing is super cool. Going for a Psychic, we bring it way down into the red, lowering his special defense as he goes ahead and hits us with a Body Slam for some decent damage and getting the Paralysis. Going for yet another Body Slam. I should have just gone for a Surf the first time. So we go ahead and swap Sturunny out, sending in Blissbeyond instead. Mazing goes for another Body Slam, fortunately not paralyzing us, which allows us to go for a Psychic, getting the KO. Milozing comes out now, and I really love a lot of these Wheezing fusions. They are super cool. As a Hydro Pump comes in, doing some pretty decent damage to us, we can slap it with a Psychic, doing just about half. Going for a Destiny Bond, we can go ahead and use Psychic, and thank God. Giovanni goes ahead and withdraws Milozing, sending out Bancruel, and this thing is a monster as we go ahead and use Minimize. We avoid a Sludge Wave as we go ahead and hit it with a Psychic, bringing it way down into the yellow as he connects with the Sludge Wave, getting us to just about half, and we can go ahead and take it down. Milozing comes back out, going for a Destiny Bond, no! And Blissbeyond uses Psychic, taking it out, but also taking ourselves out. And with that, our most powerful Pokemon has been KO'd. But we have our 8th badge. Normally on our way to Indigo Plateau, we'd run into Rando over here, but all we see is a trail of barbecue sauce leading onward. Let's follow it. Now it's time to get our team ready, so first thing we do is evolve Shitter. Usually Shitter evolves all the way into the excellent, the monstrous Luxitar. Now that our team's assembled, let's go ahead and take a look before we head in to face off against the Elite Four. Starting things off with Aegiswine, we have Ironhead, Night Slash, Sacred Sword, and Swords Dance. Garanite with Ice Fang, Aqua Tail, Dragon Dance, and Crunch. Luca Menace with Fly, Close Combat, Zen Headbutt, and Crunch. Sturunny with Surf, Thunderbolt, Psychic, and Recover. Togolosian with Air Slash, Earth Power, Flamethrower, and Draining Kiss. And finally, Luxitar with Crunch, Earthquake, Thunderfang, and Rock Slide. First up, it's time for us to face up against Lorelei and the freezing power of her ghost Pokemon. But you don't spook me one bit, Lori, as she goes ahead and sends out Chandiki, and we send in Garanite. Assuming that this thing is a fairy move of some sort, we go ahead and take Garanite out and send Luca Menace in instead, getting the Intimidate off. It goes ahead and goes for a Play Rough, calling our shot correctly, and I think that I'm actually fighting and I made a huge mistake. Staying and risking it, we go for a Crunch, which is not super effective, and we get burnt, but we do manage to get the defense drop as he comes in going for another Play Rough. Now that we're dropped down to our Berry, it's time for us to swap out again. Recalling Luca Menace, we go ahead and send in Togolosian instead. Going for another Play Rough, he fortunately misses. Lorelei goes ahead and uses the full restore to heal back up as we go ahead and go for a Flamethrower of our own, getting it down just below half. Lorelei goes ahead and heals up one more time as we go ahead and Flamethrower it, with one more as a follow-up for the KO. Out next comes Slowgar, and that is a really cool sprite. This time afraid of a water move, we recall Togolosian and go ahead and send Luxitar in instead. Slowgar goes for a Hex, but because we resisted, it does basically nothing. Doing a little bit of chip damage with Trump Card, we go ahead and get the KO with Crunch. Driftix is up next, going for a Baton Pass. For reasons, she goes ahead and sends out Dark Slash instead, and this thing is wicked as we go for a Crunch. Dark Slash goes ahead and sets up a double team as we go ahead and use Earthquake. Lorelei goes for a Hypnosis, missing, so a Crunch is enough to take this guy down. Setting Driftix back out. It goes ahead and goes for another Baton Pass, and does it not have any moves to hit me? I'm confused as Hipgar comes out. Going for a quad super effective Crunch is enough for the Oko. As she goes ahead and sends in Driftix again, going for a Cosmic Power to raise its defenses, we can go ahead and use Crunch on it, and it's still more than enough for the crit for the Oko. And with that, we defeat Lorelei. Now it's time for it to face off against Bruno and his water Pokemon. Can these crashing waves withstand the might of our team? I don't know why I said that. Bruno goes ahead and sends in Polyam. And we go ahead and send in Garanite. Going for a Dragon Dance, Polyam goes for a Double Edge, doing basically nothing as he gets hit by the recoil. Bruno wastes his first full restore as we go ahead and go for a second Dragon Dance. Going for a third, he follows up with another Double Edge, this time doing just a bit more damage. Using his second full restore for reasons unknown, we go ahead and go for a Crunch, and it's not quite enough to take him down. Going for a second one, we go ahead and take down the Polyam. Labro comes out, and we go ahead and take it down in one as he goes and sends out Kingdron. Garanite goes for a Crunch, and it's not quite enough to take it out as it goes for a Magnet Rise. But one more Crunch, and we get the KO. Sending in an unevolved Blastron, we go ahead and go for a Crunch, and we don't get the KO as he sets up an Iron Defense. And one more gets the Coco. His final Pokemon, Pukerade, is going to be a nightmare because I assume that this stupid thing has Innards out. So going for an Aqua Tail, knowing it's not going to be very effective, we still KO it. But we get lucky that he didn't have Innards out, and we defeat Bruno. And now it's time for us to take on Agatha and her fighting Pokemon? Well, that's random. Agatha starts things off by sending in her Dualie, and we go ahead and we send in our Garanite. Going for a close combat at the first turn, it does some pretty decent damage to us, obviously dropping its defenses afterwards as we go ahead and set up a Dragon Dance. Going for a second Dragon Dance. The Dualie goes for a Mega Kick this time, activating our Berry, healing us back up. Going for an Aqua Tail, it's more than enough to Oko the Lee. Following up with Magnarath, this thing is wicked. Oh my god. Going for another Aqua Tail, we miss it as he goes ahead and hits us with Lock On. Going for another Aqua Tail, we don't miss this time, and we manage to get the Oko. Out next comes Perlade, and we go ahead and go for an Aqua Tail, missing as he hits us with an Assurance. Going for another Aqua Tail is more than enough to take it down. Out next comes Clinklade, and rinse and repeat, Oko for the Clink. Her final Pokemon, Clefchan, comes in, and I'm really seeing a lot of Clef keys in this run. We go ahead and we miss our first attack as he goes ahead and hits us with a Mega Punch, getting us down to nice. But empowered by 69, we go ahead and Oko the Clefchan as well, defeating Agatha. And with that, now it's time for us to take on Lance, the Ice Trainer. You know that ices are mythical Pokemon. They're hard to catch and raise, but their powers are superior and virtually indestructible. Prepare for the fury of the storm, or I, Lance, will defeat you. Lance goes ahead and sends out Suncheon, and that is absolutely adorable as Garanite comes out. Afraid of the power of grass, we go ahead and withdraw Garanite, and we go ahead and send in Togologian instead. He goes ahead and hits us with a Leaf Storm, which fortunately does very little to our Togologian. Following up with a Flamethrower, we're able to grab the Oko on Suncheon. He sends in Galchomp as his next Pokemon, and this thing is majestic, but a Flamethrower is not quite enough to take it out as he goes for a Dig. Wanting to avoid the Dig, we withdraw Togologian and go ahead and send in Luca Menace instead. Going for the Dig, he obviously misses it. Lance goes ahead and uses the full restore, and we go ahead and use Crunch, doing basically nothing. Following up with a close combat, it should be more than enough to take it down, and it is. Out next comes Lance's Kekrom, and okay, I see you, Kekrom. Going for the quad effective close combat on this beast, we managed to take it down in just one shot. Lance goes ahead and sends out Silph, and I love almost all of the double fused EVs. Risking it, going for another close combat. We go ahead and do massive damage to it, but it's not quite enough to KO it, and it goes for a Moonblast, taking us out in just one shot. Sending in Snorlax. Lance goes ahead and heals back up with another full restore as we go ahead and go for a Psychic, doing basically nothing. This time going for a Thunderbolt, we do just about the same as he goes ahead and ready for another Moonblast. Getting a crit, getting us just below half, activating our berry. This time going for a Surf, hoping the stab is enough to take it out. It's not, as he goes ahead and goes for another Moonblast, getting us down into the red. But one more Surf from us is enough to take down the Silph. His final Pokemon, Houndsel, comes in, and this thing is neat. Taking Snorlax out, we go ahead and we send in our Garanite as a backup. Houndsel goes ahead going for a Crunch, doing some decent damage to us. Another Crunch gets us just below half, activating our berry. And we go ahead and go for an Aqua Tail, grabbing ourselves the KO. And with that, we're moving on to Rando. As we enter the Champion Chamber and get to the center of the room, we notice that there's nothing but discarded pieces of chicken nugget and toothpicks holding scallops wrapped in bacon. Rando, standing in a puddle of barbecue sauce and gristle, greets us warmly. He produces a bag of holding, opening its contents for the glory of the nuggets. So many, he says. Unlimited, they said. Well, you don't know your limits until you're told that there are none. Please take this away from me. Take away this burden. Take away this pain. I cannot stand another chicken nugget, my friend. And then the battle begins. Rando goes ahead and sends out Hydrazard, and okay, buddy, you really got to calm down with this first Pokemon as I send in Garanite. Knowing that this thing's not Dragon-type, but absolutely petrified that it has a Dragon-type move, we're going to start the battle going for an offensive move right away, slapping it with an Aqua Tail and taking it down in one shot. Rando's next Pokemon is Amphanite, and okay, same thing here as he goes ahead and sets up a Safeguard for some reason. Going for an Ice Fang, we get him down to about half as he gets us with Static. Now that we're paralyzed, I feel like there's no reason to swap out as he heals back up, and we can go for an Ice Fang. Rando using his second full restore, we can go ahead and try to attack, but we can't. Rando then goes for a Signal Beam for some unknown reason, and this is kind of the downside of randomizers, is since their movesets are randomized, never mind, Dragon Rush, we're dead. Sending in Togolosian, we can go ahead and go for a Draining Kiss, and we get him way down into the red, but unfortunately we're static as well. Setting up another Safeguard, Rando goes ahead and uses yet another full restore as we go ahead for the Smoochie Kiss. Rando goes ahead and heals up again, and this time we're going to go ahead and go for an Ancient Power, seeing if we can get the Omni Boost. Knowing that this thing can't really do anything to us except for Signal Beams, I'm just going to keep on using Ancient Power, hoping we get something, and what the hell? And now the Signal Beam confuses us as we go ahead and go for an Ancient Power. Amphanite goes in and sets up a Light Screen, and we're paralyzed. Hitting us with another Signal Beam, we go ahead and snap out of the confusion, but we're paralyzed again. Everybody loves a good Signal Beam, and now we're flinched. Setting up a Safeguard, we're paralyzed. Signal Beam comes in, and we go ahead and go for our final Ancient Power, and all that for no Omni Boosts. Setting up another Light Screen, we go ahead and go for the Smooch, getting him way down into the red, healing ourselves back up just a little bit. Amphanite goes for another Signal Beam, and guess what? Smoochie Kiss and KO for the Amphanite. Rando goes ahead and sends in his Venolax. Going for a Bug Buzz, he does just a little bit of damage to us as we go ahead and go for a Flamethrower, and even though it's super effective, he must stick fat. Venolax then goes for a Quiver Dance, and this is going to be bad really fast as we go ahead and go for an Air Slash, doing nothing as well. Really wishing I hadn't killed off my Fighting-type Pokemon, we go ahead and send in Luxitar, getting the Intimidate off on Venolax. Going for a Bug Buzz, I forgot this was Dark and not Rock, and Luxitar goes down. Sending in Aegiswine instead, Venolax goes for a Bug Buzz on us, doing some decent damage as we go ahead and set up a Swords Dance. Going for a high horsepower, he knocks us just below half, but we can go ahead and heal up thanks to our berry as we set up another Swords Dance. Going for a Bug Buzz, he gets us down below half again as we go ahead and hit him with a +4 Sacred Sword, and it's not quite enough for the KO as he heals a little bit back from his leftovers. Venolax goes for another Bug Buzz, getting us down into the red as a Sacred Sword goes ahead and takes him down in the following turn. Sending out Azamario. He goes ahead and uses Close Combat, and we're done. Not really knowing what to do here, we go ahead and send in Togolosian. knowing that this thing is steel, hoping it doesn't have any water moves. I'm wrong, as a Hydro Pump slams us wicked low, and a Flamethrower does nothing. As a Mario goes ahead and hits us with another Hydro Pump, KOing us, and we're down to our last Pokemon. Sending in our Starunny. Down to our last Pokemon, we go ahead and use Thunderbolt with Starunny, taking it out. Rando goes ahead and sends in his Chantatula, setting up an Agility. We go for a Surf, and we activate his Absorb Bolt. Okay. Chantatula goes for a Discharge, and it is more than enough to take down our Starunny and end our run. This is not how I wanted to start our return from break. But alas, it was not meant to be. I already have a spooky, scary run ready for Halloween, but after that, I'm coming back for you, rando. We will have justice. But always remember, if you liked the video, go ahead and hit that little button and leave a comment. And if you made it this far in the video and you haven't subscribed, what the heck is the matter with you? I got a family, man. Just hit the little button. But anywho, I'll catch y'all next time. See ya.